Welcome back to another episode of IC Reacts. Today we are reacting to holiday commercials. Blind react, we've never seen these before.
Right.
So you have myself, James, Kendra, and Kayla. So let's see what we got. Kendra, you take it away for us.
Here we go.
Holidays are coming, holidays are coming, holidays are coming. 'Tis the season, watch out. Look around, something's coming to town, coming to your town.
I wonder what year this is from.
I guess 80s.
Yeah, based off the music.
84. No, 87. Cute.
My guess was going to be that Santa was driving one of the Coke semi-trucks.
That's pretty old, but I miss the old, like, I don't feel like you get jingles anymore. Like that was a full song. Like that was composed and stuff. I feel like the jingles are dead. And maybe I just haven't noticed them, but that's very indicative of like those couple decades. I feel like so we don't get those anymore. I say bring back the jingles.
Yes.
Need some jingles for Skittles or something, you know? Like
Yeah.
Jingle all the way.
Yeah. Very appropriate for Christmas too. Like that type of jingle.
Yeah, absolutely. It almost didn't even seem like a jingle. It just kind of felt like a Christmas song. Definitely very family focused, I think. Just having the little boy and his dad in the truck. It was very classic feeling. It's giving me Home Alone vibes.
Yeah. I think they're playing off like the hype for Christmas too. And I also know that for sure if I watched this commercial in the 80s, I would be singing it in my head. Like just kind of an earworm type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how they made the trucks into a train because I feel like it was kind of brought two different generations together. Because I know that, my grandparents and stuff, like trains around Christmas time were a really big deal back then. And kind of being able to reimagine that in their trucks, and everybody has come to recognize their trucks on the road. So
I think this would be good to like nostalgia and holidays. I feel like are such a strong emotional play that I feel like if they did something like this now would be smart to kind of like pull some of this like kind of old school nostalgia commercial wise to tie to their product. I think would play pretty well.
Yeah, I agree.
Totally. Another thing I noticed is that they don't really speak. There's not any speaking parts, which I think is great because there's no need to really translate as much. It's really about the feeling that you get watching it.
This Campbell's soup.
Yeah, I remember this one.
Oh, yeah.
As long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Nothing melts away the cold like a delicious hot bowl of Campbell's soup.
Let it snow, let it snow.
Visual effects from the 90s. not too bad, really, like for
Star Wars
for
vibes.
what they were doing.
Kind of.
Yeah.
They did okay.
That is wow. That took me back, honestly. I was like, I remember watching that commercial, and I was just waiting for the snowman to melt. It's a nice, it gives you a nice warm feeling, like the little boy's like face, like as he's sipping on the soup.
I feel like I could feel that commercial, like the coldness of the outside and then the inside, and like the soup as like the main thing that's like kind of warming your soul. It's like conveyed through the commercial in a way.
I think they did a good job like tying product to emotion. not just necessarily like the last one we saw is kind of just time of year nostalgia emotion, but that's like a literal product into how it makes you feel. So I think they did a good job with that one. It's a classic.
Yeah, it really taps into the senses.
Yeah.
With the, you can even see
Sensory,
this like the steam coming off of it and with the melting and yeah.
I think that's one thing that some companies have gotten away from. Not necessarily that it's a bad thing, but getting away from the product and its direct benefits or what it actually does, and more kind of like the lifestyle vibes around how they want their brand to be portrayed, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like it's the trend right now is not so much this. This is obviously older, but you don't get I don't feel like you see a lot of that of like, here's the product, here's what it does. It's very much more aspirational lifestyle type. So I'd be curious to see if we start seeing any of that kind of circle back on those trends of getting more like direct, how this benefits you type of direct marketing or messaging.
Yeah. I think it's great how they incorporated both, like that effectiveness of like, this is what the product actually does and the emotion, rather than just, you know, leaning one way or the other fully.
Yeah.
I wonder if because you didn't see any parents in that at all. Like, I wonder if at the time, if they were marketing Campbell's soup as being something that a kid could make for themselves, because it's one of those things that you just warm up.
Or he just has neglectful parents.
Yeah, you know. Is that what happened to me? I don't know.
Do your parents not feed you dinner?
I learned how to cook at a young age.
That's
I'll
one
say
target
that.
audience no one ever can see.
Oh, nice warm fuzzy feelings. All right. So Hershey's Kisses.
I feel like they bring that one back. I feel like that they.
Yeah, I feel like I saw that
I
recently.
know it's old, but I feel like they bring that back frequently.
I feel like it repeats often. Like, I remember watching like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade last year, and this played like right after, and I was like, oh yeah, it's Christmas time. Also, I've seen this like so many years. Like, it's nostalgic at this point. So I think the fact that they like repeat it is very like intentional, and I think it's effective.
Yeah, they're playing the long game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so simple too.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Just it white backdrop table type of situation, and I love that the kisses have like character with, you know, at the end when it like wipes the sweat kind of thing. It makes it brings the humanity into the brand.
Yeah, I like the simplicity and the stark contrast, like you said. It's an easy thing to recognize as soon as it comes up every time. So
Yeah.
it's not really like funny or like super, I guess, emotional, but it's just like it's a brand recognition thing, and the repetitive, like you said. So
Yeah.
it works that way.
Yeah, and it's this is 15 seconds. So when you're thinking about, you know, advertising screen time too, like being able to get that message across in 15 seconds is pretty incredible. And and the next time you hear it, even from the next room, it's already going to bring back that connotation of exactly what's playing, even though you're not watching it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Love that.
I like that they didn't have to include people in it, people like enjoying the product or whatever, but it's just a fun way to tie it in. So that's a unique perspective too.
Yeah. It just kind of subconsciously ties like that association with Hershey's Kisses to Christmas time, like through such a seamless means in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I can just imagine them being in, you know, as marketers, thinking like holding up the Hershey Kiss and being like, what can it be?
What does this look like?
What are all the things that we can, transform this into, and how they can leverage that, because it is an interesting shape too. And whoever's idea it was to make them bells, genius.
Ow. So you think Santa will like these red and green M&Ms?
I don't know. I never met the guy. He does exist.
They do exist. Santa?
That animation, though.
I feel like that's a classic too.
I don't remember much. Yeah, like that might be one of the biggest leaps in quality animation of like these type of characters. Like you had like, the Kool-Aid Man and Chester Cheetah, like some mascot kind of like things like that with food that were, but this is like you're integrating with real people, and it's great, quality. So I feel like that's like the first one that I remember of that kind of leap off of like kind of cartoony or like old graphic, poor quality integration into like computer animation in real life type thing. So these were so rampant for so long, but did a really good job, I think, of mixing the two, real and CGI.
Yeah, I totally forgot that part of it, that was kind of a new thing. I remember now, like it just sparked my memory of seeing it for the first time, being like, oh wow, those are full-blown characters that are in the house, and it has the laugh factor too, and like in all ages might like giggle at that, and just like it's quirky.
It also kind of incorporates them with like, not fully, but like Santa is like the Christmas lore, like one of the staple like traditions of Christmas, but it's like now the M&M guys like enter the scene. It's almost like a weird crossover episode of like M&M, characters and Santa as a character, and they meet each other. And yeah, I think that's part of where like the humor comes into, because they're also not expecting like that kind of real life looking CGI plus like Santa. I think it's cool.
It almost brings them to life more, I'd say, because of the human aspect of it. Yeah. And I love when the M&Ms fall on the ground at the end, like, and they get spilled. There's something, again, about the sound of that. I mean, a lot of us have opened up a bag of M&Ms at some point, and they go all over the place, And so we've all had that, like, moment.
M&M's is a good job, too, of just that character, those voices have continued on for decades now, of their commercials. Establishing those characters like some of the brands have done. So I feel like they did a good job there. I think it's probably one of those that would have been a fun one to be a part of. That's kind of like a typical, I think, what you think of being an advertising commercial of like, what would be like a funny commercial, and getting ideas up on the board, and then being able to like make that come to life would have been a fun project. I feel like it would have been fun to be on.
Oh yeah.
Coming up with that and then to execution. You always want like that type of project of like, what can we do that's just funny? Yeah. And like working in the brand. We don't get those opportunities too often, so that would be would have been a fun project to work on.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I can definitely see how in like this era of time, which I feel like was, like whatever it was, like 80s to 2000s, how heavy they emphasize like nostalgia and like that warm, fuzzy feeling kind of. I feel like holiday advertising, they still kind of go back to that, but there's like a mix of other things too.
I feel like I'm trying to think now of like what's like a recent holiday commercial. Like a lot of these are the ones that you kind of think of. Yeah. And so don't feel like a lot of the more recent ones are memorable. The only one I can think of is like the NBA did one that was like kind of like the Hershey Kiss one. It was Jingle Bells, but with bells like on the hoops. So the players were making shots. They made different sounds. That one was really cool, but outside of that, I can't think of really anything else that like stands
You
out.
would remember that one.
Yeah, that makes sense because
Very on brand.
I am paying attention to that.
I don't really watch cable, so I pay for YouTube Premium, so I don't get a lot of ads anymore. It's always interesting when I'm at a hotel or at someone else's house and they come on. I'm like glued to watching them now because I just don't see them as often as I used to.
Yeah, something about being like in our industry and like the jobs we have, like you can't watch a commercial the same way.
Yeah,
you know, you're always thinking of something different. Like, what was their approach? Like, what were they thinking? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it improved that by legal.
Exactly. I always imagine them sitting around a, conference room table, throwing ideas at the wall, and some of them are, especially you mentioned Skittles earlier. Like Skittles has done some really outlandish commercials that are quirky, and you're like, wow, they approve that kind of thing.
And we always we always kind of wish for clients like that, right? That are willing to take risks.
Yeah.
Because that is the memorable stuff that stands out. If it's too plain or whatever, it's not super memorable. So crazy ideas can be good ideas too.
Yeah.
100%. I feel like these days, like brands, like to stand out, oftentimes adopt like a little bit of that sass or that edge to their voice to like be reached by more consumers, especially the younger generation, like really eats that up. And I think about even some of the projects you worked on, Kendra, where it's like kind of more that humor or like a little bit of that edge to like intrigue the audience because it's not what they're expecting. Like, oh, I wasn't expecting that type of humor. And it is really fun to work on too.
Totally is. Yeah, be able to loosen up a little bit and think about what's relatable to the audience and is going to make them feel seen and understood, and even just commonalities with their own life.
I think it's the best work that stands out is that it's different and memorable. So it's what we like to pride ourselves on sometimes. So if you got good ideas or you want some crazy ideas, big ideas, come to us. We got them. We want to do them.
Yep.